Hello and welcome back to It's Reading Time Somewhere. My name is Carolina and I'm your host. And first things first, again, I am so sorry. I know that last year I said that this year I was trying to pre-record and things like that, but of course the reality doesn't match whatever I say. I think that sometimes I have this idea that I have a lot of time, but in reality I don't have. I'm currently on my last year of my master's degree, so I'm doing my dissertation, which is a project. And I don't really have that much time as I think I do. And now I am currently on the Easter break and I'm trying to give myself a little bit of time, a little bit of mental vacations for my mental health. And I decided that I want to record an episode. It has been so long. And when I was writing the guide of this episode, I was thinking, I missed this so much. Why it took me so long to come back? In case you guys are wondering, there isn't a month that I don't think that I should pre-record something and post it. But I really want to create something and record something that is unique and where I really talk about the books and what I felt about those books. So that's why it took me so long. But yeah, let's get back to it. And on this episode, I really want to talk about some genre that I didn't really think that I was going to enjoy that much, which is Gothic Fantasy. And it all started with One Dark Window. The actual first book I read on this genre, it was The Diary of Blood. But One Dark Window, on the duology of The Stafford King by Rachel Gillick, was actually the reason why I wanted to create something about this genre. For a little bit of explanation, I intended to make a separate episode talking clearly about this duology and the other Rachel Gillick book, which is also again a duology. But when I was reading the last book that I'm going to talk about later, I noticed that there's a lot of books in this genre and I'm enjoying it so much. So why not create a compilation and talk about them? And I think that they all deserve to be talked about and they all deserve to be recommended, that everyone should also have the experience to read them and enjoy them just like I did. So let's get into this episode where I'm going to talk about Gothic Fantasy and the books of this genre. When I talk about the books, I usually like to talk them in the order that I read them. And the first book that I read when I was also creating the guide for this podcast and when I was writing it, I actually searched for Gothic books. So I know what other books I had on my TBR that I wanted to read that I didn't know that were Gothic books. And the first book that I actually read on this list is The Diary of Blood. To be honest, I didn't know that it was a Gothic book. Now I discovered it. And I think that I already talked about it on my vampire episode. And also, again, I gave it 3 stars because for me it was a disappointing book. I was expecting a little bit too much about it. It was a recommendation from one of my friends and she loved it. But when I was reading this book, there was some behaviors from the characters that I didn't enjoy. I didn't associate myself with those type of behaviors, so I don't really enjoy the book, but it's just my opinion. I also recommend it because I think that the way it's written, it's very beautiful, it's unique. So it's A Diary of Blood by C.T. Gibson. I totally forgot about talking about the author, I'm so sorry, but I really recommend it too because of the way it's written. If you want to have a story about something that it's different and the behaviors are different rather than a very romantic story, then you want to read something that is not so romantic. It is romantic in their way, but it's not the type of romantic that romantic readers are usually used to, saying it like that. On to the next book. I thought that in here was actually the first book that I was going to read on the Gothic genre. but I was actually didn't read. It wasn't my first book. It was The Ray of Blood. But it was my first book of Rachel Gillick. I wasn't really excited. I wasn't really wanting to commit myself and read One Dark Window. So I thought that Knight and the Moth was only one book. It wasn't going to be a duology, but then once I finished it, I discovered it was going to be a duology. So whenever I read a book, and then I discovered that there's another book that is going to be launched, I am like, why did I read it? I didn't know that it had actually happened again with the other book that I want to talk about it later. But yeah, I read The Knight of the Moth. I gave it a five-star review because it was a very original and different from any other book that I read. I think I said this with a lot of books, but this one was really different. I think that all of Rachel Gillick's books for me were really different from other books. I think it's the way she writes it. She really thinks about the fantasy world, and I noticed that a lot. And at the time when I decided to read The Knight and the Moth, I was reading a lot of Acolytes type of books, and this one was a surprisingly good one on those type of books I was reading. And I think that one of them that I read was one from Carissa Broadman, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. And this one I really did because of the magic. It was different, so I recommend it to you. And also, since I discovered the duology, I must also give this this news. The next book is going to be launched on the 1st of September, and the name of it is The Knopf and the Moon. So I'm super excited to read it, and I really want to know what happens next. Still going on the Rachel Gillick. After I read The Knight of the Moth, I decided to give it a try on the book that I was delaying it for 1 year. I bought it as my birthday gift in 2024, I think. My birthday is in October. And I decided to pick the book in October 2025. I delayed for 1 year. And I regret it a little bit too much, if I'm going to be honest, because I think that this book, when I wanted to read it, I've seen a lot of reviews, people saying that it has a very unique magic system. It's a Gothic fantasy, very unique with vivid descriptions and very different things. And I was really excited, but I was really on that side. Maybe it can't be that good. Everyone is saying the same. Probably it isn't that good, and it's going to happen just like Avatar. But I think this is where I get it wrong. I was comparing this book with books that were also hyped, and I didn't enjoy it that much. So I was delaying it, thinking that maybe I'm not going to enjoy it. And being honest, I was wrong. And I really enjoyed this book, so that's why I wanted to make separate episodes talking about this duology, because I think it deserves the love that it needs. And I really don't want to talk about the story itself. I don't want to spoil it out because it's different from the other books. It's a varied, unique magic system. And then we have the next book, which is The Two Twisted Crowns. I gave it 5 stars. But on this story, I have a little mixed feelings. I gave it 5 stars, just like on the first book. But on this book, we don't have the main focus of the main character, which is Elspeth and Ravin. I don't know if I'm saying the names right. I'm sorry again. But on the second book, the story focused more on Helm. And don't mind me, I love Helm, but I think that throughout the story, I was really excited for the union of the two main characters again, and that felt a little bit flat. But since I love so much Helm, I love the character, it was really funny to read the book. I think I really love the second book because of Helm, but I missed that. So for me, it's still a 5 star, but I have these mixed feelings. I think it would be better if it was like a special Helm or something like that, but this is a really good duology. I highly recommend it. So in case you guys want to read a good Gothic fantasy with a unique magic system and vivid descriptions and a unique also romance story, which the romance is not the main plot of the story either, I really suggest this duology. It's really good. Or any Rachel Gilliff book too. Now, this book that I'm going to talk about, which is the I'm going to talk about it later book. It's Anathema by Carrie Lake. This was also other book that I delight so much, but I end up loving it. I actually end up finishing it yesterday, and I discovered that it's a trilogy. And again, and its third book is going to be launched on 1st October, so it's going to be a birthday present. But anyways, I decided to start reading the second book yesterday. And now that I discovered that there's a third book, which I thought it was a duology too, now I have to delay my reading, and I don't want to, because I want to continue reading this amazing story. And thinking that it's going to be launched on October, it's making me... because that happened with Quicksilver too. I read Quicksilver thinking that probably the second book was already launched, and then it wasn't, and now we have the second book. I still haven't read it, so that's why I also haven't talked a little bit about Quicksilver, because I want to read the second book. But I read it last year on January, and the second book was launched on October, and I am also delaying that book too. But yeah, not talking about Quicksilver now, but Anathema. This is a trilogy calling The Eating Woods, and I must say that this was surprisingly good too. I think that this book has that type of fantasy that it's very complex, as a more difficult to understand, because there's a lot of complex names, specific names that the creator write for that main story, as their own language too. And this book, I think that for that it's a little bit complicated, and I noticed that too on Quicksilver. That's why I'm talking about Quicksilver too, because when I was reading the book, it actually matched that vibe, but it completely set out a different story. If you guys want to read a book that doesn't have too much focus on romance, even though there's romance in there, but has more focus on the politics, on the fantasy, on the magic system, this book is the one. I think that I really enjoyed that. When I started reading Anathema, I wanted a book that we can see that the main character is really obsessed with her. He loved her first, but I wanted a book that was that type. And I decided to go with Anathema. And once you are reading it, of course, there's romance in it, but that's not the main focus. There's a lot more onto it. There's a more fantasy, and I'm talking more about this book because I finished it yesterday, so it's still fresh on my mind. But this one of those books, if you want to start reading a more complex fantasy book, this one also, it's a good recommendation, and I gave it 5 stars. I don't know if I said it before, but I'm really excited now for the second book, and I'm actually reading it, so I don't have that much to say about it yet. But I think that once I finish it, I'm probably going to try and give a separate episode talking only about Anathema and One Dark Window, because they deserve their own episode too. Now, for other books, Gothic fantasy books that I want to read. When I was seeing what other type of Gothic books exist, a list of them, I noticed that there's a lot of books I want to read. And I kind of wanted to put like 3 books in here, but to be honest, 2 of those books I'm not really that excited to read. One of them was The Night Circus, which I'm still with Caraval in my mind, so I really don't want to go to another type of circus, and I really love Caraval. So I don't want to... There's again that feeling, I don't want to disappoint myself, even though I know that some people say that it's good. I am delaying again this read. I will probably read it, but not now. It's not the another this one to read. And then it was Belladonna. Belladonna is also another Gothic fantasy book that I am also really excited to read or start reading it. So I'm just going to explain the only book that I want to read, but I know that it's too long to read, which is Alchemized by Stanley Yu. I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But this book is like kind of funny because there's a lot of people talking about it, of the Dramion fans, if you get it, I know. And once I went to a library and I saw The Alchemist, and I noticed how big the book is. Anathema is 700 pages, 700 pages. And this one, I really know how many pages it has, if I'm going to be honest. But when I was reading the resume of the story, I noticed that it talks about neochromancy, if I'm saying it right. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. But when this book was getting that type of hype, I at the time I had finished reading The Songbird and the Art of Stone duology from Clarissa Broadman, and that book also talks about neochromancy. I'm sorry. And I was not really into it to read something about it again, because I think it's a very heavy topic about, for me, death is a very heavy topic. It's a topic that I really like to talk a little bit. I don't really like to talk about it too much. So for me, it was something that was really delaying. I'm also delaying this read. I'm, of course, going to read it, but I don't have that type of time now to read a book. So I've been, on this year, I also have been reading very small books. I decided to read Bridgerton, which is another separate episode. I want to talk about Bridgerton. I promise it's going to be 1 hour long, but it's going to be a long episode, just like Akhtar, because Bridgerton is something that I really need to talk about. And I wasn't expecting to not like Bridgerton at all, to be honest. I'm already spoiling it out, but it's the honest. But yeah, so I also wanted to read Throne of Glass, but the books are also huge. And I really want to commit myself reading fantasy books when I have time. So I've been reading romance because they are shorter. They don't need to think a lot. And when I'm reading fantasy, I really want to think about all the possibilities of everything. So yeah, that is my only book that at the moment I want to read, and I'm most excited to read too. And with that, I wrap up this episode. And again, I am so sorry for the waiting, for not having time. But now the episodes are going to be a little bit more shorter, more quicker, due to my lack of time. But I know once I submit that dissertation, I'm going to record so much because I have so much to talk about and so much that I want to talk some books, just like Bridgerton. But yeah, and I really hope, in case you guys have read any of these books, please comment, please say it. What do you think, if you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy them, or if you are planning to add any of them to your TBR. I love hearing your thoughts. I love engagement too. So please, if in case you want to read one of them, tell me. And remember, it's always reading time somewhere. Bye.